Hello and welcome, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Soul Stories. I am Lisa Warner. I am the author of The Simplicity of Self Healing, and I am normally the host of Soul Stories. But today we have a guest host. We have Kathleen Bradley of Kathy Bradley and the Angels, my dear friend who is going to take over as host today so that I can share my story with you. Kathy, welcome. Thank you so much for stepping in.
Absolutely, Lisa. It is my honor and my pleasure. I love you, and this is going to be absolutely wonderful. Yeah. This is the end of your Soul Stories series. Is that right?
It is. I have decided to call this one, to bring this one to a close. And
Mhm.
I've been guided to create a new podcast series. Um,
Beautiful.
yeah, it will be called Awake, Aware, Alive.
Oh, and
And
you already know what it is. How
I
nice is
do.
that?
So it's in the works now. I'm starting to line up guests for it, and it will be really fun. It's going to come out. It's I'm going to take a little hiatus for the month of October as I move my household. There's a lot a lot of moving parts and pieces, so I need to be able to focus on that to accomplish that. So I'm going to take a little bit of a time off. So as you're watching this, don't worry, I haven't gone anywhere. I am just moving locations slightly in the physical realm, but I will be back online with a new and exciting podcast series for you all. Real-
Beautiful.
Yeah.
We look forward to the next one. This is, I feel, a lot of endings for you, an ending of the soul story and all of the stories that you shared. And also, it's interesting because the actual physical ending for you from one location to another. And I want you to share with everyone, if you could, about how you manifested this, because I think it's fantastic how you take what you teach and you implement it. So I think it's wonderful if you want to share your story.
Oh, for that part, sure. It's been, if everybody that's watching, if you've been watching me for a while, you've seen my friends Keith, Leon, and Mara, and we've developed a nice friendship, and we have some visions of things that we'd like to create as community. There are things in my community that are really not working as great as we would like it to work as a village. And Keith and Mara and I have some ideas about ways that we can start creating physical community and bringing communities back together. So the place I have been renting a place for the last 15 years, which has served my purpose really, really well. And the new owners have come in and decided to raise my rent 66%. I thought that was pretty cool. I did not. So my yard sale this weekend to get rid of my belongings that
Mhm.
it's time to purge, an ending of the story, letting go of all the old stuff. Many people from the community stopped by to see what was going on. And as I shared the story, they said, "Oh my gosh, this happened to me too. This has happened to my friends, my families, myself, my loved ones. I watch it constantly happen." And when I was growing up in this community, Lake Placid, New York, we were a real village, and
Mhm.
everybody lived here. Everybody contributed to the village, whether it
Mm.
was business or whether it was working in a business or running a sporting facility or whatever it was. And we all had the vision of bringing the Olympics back to Lake Placid. So everybody was on board.
Mm.
Everybody was contributing in their own way to
Right,
a vision. And it
right.
was truly a community. And, they say it takes a village. Well, it took a village to host an Olympic event. A 2,500 population village
Yeah,
hosted the Olympics here, which was really a miracle,
it really was, wasn't it? Yeah. And
right?
the energy there was fantastic.
It was really, truly amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not been replicated. Now the Olympics have completely changed. But
Correct.
after the Olympics, then kind of the world saw this place as, oh, I want to be there. I want to be there. So a lot of people came, they bought properties, but they
Mm-hmm.
bought them as investment properties. And so now
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the real estate prices have gone up and up and up. And the villagers who were living here were very simple people, working simple jobs. And as the prices went up and up and their taxes went up and up, they started getting forced out. They started to not be able to have that, the income to cover the really big tax load. So people started moving away because they were getting
Mm-hmm.
pushed out by that money. And when people bought and turned things into Airbnbs, now we have all kinds of homes here, but nobody
Mm-hmm.
actually lives in them.
Yeah,
So
they're really not homes per se. Yeah.
exactly. So kind of the
Mm-hmm.
fabric of the community has been, really taken. So, when I say it takes a village, well, my village has been taken. And, it's not the village that it used to be. And I know there's always growth and progress, but
Mm-hmm.
there's really not that core community and feeling of village. And so everybody that came by during my sale the other day, they all expressed the same sentiment. I don't know what to do about it.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, everybody wants to do something about it, but there's not really a clear path forward. So, part of
Oh, maybe you're creating that path forward. It's
exactly.
interesting, because it's the end of one platform, right? And into the next. And sometimes the universe creates these situations for us, right? To bring us into those platforms. And what came through for me, for you the other day is you're a pioneer, right? You've always been a pioneer, whether it's about healing, self-healing, the simplicity of living with nature, and then here creating the village, creating the home, creating the environment to offer, to nurture for people so that they can expand and grow. So I think it's all in divine order, right?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
In order for us to heal ourselves, we have to heal our connection to nature. We have
Mm-hmm.
to reconnect to our own true nature as souls, as divine beings of light, grand creator beings. We have to be able to remember who we are, and we have to be able to reconnect to nature because we are part of nature. We have been separated from nature through commerce, commercialism, consumerism, and greed, politics. Look, oh, look over here. And we
Mm-hmm.
have gotten separated.
Right. And that is so integral to living in balance, in harmony, when we reconnect with nature, isn't it? That's where we find the simplicity. That's where we find the peace. That's where we find the answers.
Exactly.
So, yeah, so that's what you've done to bring you into that place of remembering who you are and why you're here. Do you want to share with our beautiful group here about what took you on the path to begin with?
Sure. So I guess really what took me on the path was when I was born, when I was very, very little, I was I was born awake. I was born connected to source. When I would go to bed at night, I would just be connected to this incredible field of unconditional love and
Mm,
light. And this field of love and light was filled with intelligence and wisdom, and you could communicate with it.
mm,
And I
mm.
knew, like, this is God. This is what people call God. God is not a being like a guy in the sky, keeping
Right.
track,
Yeah.
right? That's like Santa Claus. But it is this vast field of intelligence, this living life force energy from which everything comes. Everything that is organic comes from this field. All life comes from this field. And this field is both masculine and feminine, mother, father, God. Both energies exist. And mother, father, God are in this incredible union of infinite divine unconditional love. There is no competition between, because they each have their own role. Like the mother and the father, the mother, the one that births the ideas, that gives the new life, the father that protects and gives that structure and that that safety and the guidance. And together these energies, the feminine energy is like the swirling moving energy, like water that flows,
Mhm.
the ideas that come forth, the creative ideas. And the masculine energy is, here, let me build the idea for you. The water and the stream bed. Without the stream bed, the water just goes everywhere.
Exactly. Right. So that's taking that nature that you were talking about a little bit ago
Mhm.
and bringing it into the earth. And even the earth and all of the elements, the four elements, they represent the masculine and the feminine, right?
Absolutely. Yes. Everything has both energies, because
Hmm.
without both energies, there can't be form and structure. So,
Right.
as we embody in human form, we choose either a masculine or feminine body
Hmm.
to express, but all bodies have both energies. And when we're fully in balance, those two energies are fully balanced within each of our bodies,
Hmm.
right? Because we need both of those energies. We can express ourselves as feminine or masculine, but we need the other energy.
Right. We need the structure and the form, right? And the creativity.
Exactly. A feminine energy without the masculine energy is like a woman with no boundaries, like that gets taken advantage of all the time and doesn't really know who
Hmm.
she is. Or
Hmm.
that masculine is like, these are the boundaries and you're going to stick with these and follow the rules. It's not, it doesn't create a healthy society, as we can see.
Hmm. So when you were born, you were awake, right? And then what happened that maybe brought you to that amnesic state that most of us have found ourselves in?
Well, when I was about 2 years old, I was connected to this beautiful field, and then I kind of turned around, so to speak, and looked at the earth. And I had the realization, like, oh my gosh, nobody remembers this space. It was completely
Mm,
clear to me, in this space, in the space of the divine, in the space of infinite love, there is no war, there's no fighting, there's no competition, dog eat dog. Nobody's trying to earn a paycheck, right? Everybody's already living. You don't have to earn a living because you're already living. You are
right.
life itself.
That's our divine birthright. Yeah, to express
Exactly.
and yeah.
Yeah. And I could see that wars were being fought over whose God was better than whose,
Mm,
and which religion was the right religion. It's like, it's not the way it is. Like, there's just love. And I looked at them, the I could literally see the amnesia. I could
hmm.
see, as people were walking around, it looked like they were just kind of
Like a veil. Yeah.
just vacant, like
Hmm.
people without souls.
Mm,
And that really, it scared me, because I
hmm.
knew that people who had amnesia, like, I looked at animals, like if an animal gets wounded, it will
Mhm.
lash out at anybody who's trying to help it because it's afraid. And I
Right.
see that without our soul, without full awareness of who we are, it's really scary. It's like, who am I? What am I doing here?
Mhm.
So so that part was scary for me. And that kind of started the like, uh-oh, like what do I do now?
Right.
Because this space of love isn't here on this earth. Like the
So
animals
yeah,
for us.
exactly. So what prompted you to expand your knowingness with others?
So, well, after after I decided that, I was going to have to give up my inner knowing of who I was because
Mm,
I could see in the history that those who had come before, who had tried to remind everybody, how try to clear the amnesia, try to preach, and teach the unconditional love and help people awaken. Well, they kind of met some pretty unsavory endings.
right.
So I was shown that at 2 years old and was like,
Mm,
uh-oh, like that's me. Like that
yeah,
could
better hide
happen,
that light, right?
right? It's like, oh my gosh, that could happen to me. Like
Mhm.
I, like at two
Yeah,
years old, like that was like, I don't want that to happen to me.
exactly.
So I thought I'm just gonna have to forget all of this in order to try to
Mhm.
keep myself safe.
Mhm.
So I lived my life in this beautiful place of Lake Placid, New York. I grew up figure skating and just really honoring the sport and the Olympics and
Mm,
purity of sportsmanship, like true sportsmanship. Here,
right.
it wasn't about like who's going to beat who. And, there were rivalries, of course, between
Right.
hockey teams or whatever, but it wasn't this like, we got to win at all costs thing.
Right, is more good, clean fun, so to speak.
Exactly, right?
Yeah,
It was like, who are the best craftsmen of their sport?
right.
Who can actually really perform? Who has the best technique? Who can really play by the rules and
Mhm.
win fair and square? Like that was what I remember
Right.
growing up, that dignity and that honor,
Mhm.
honoring the sport, honoring the integrity of the rules, and really working within the structure to become the best you can be in that structure.
And you did that with your ice skating, didn't you?
Yeah, I went all the way through all the structures of the sport, the different grade levels, so to speak, and got my gold medals and figures and freestyle, and it
So
was.
that's really an accomplishment too.
Yeah,
I mean, using that creative gift that you had on the ice. What a gift that was.
yeah. I mean, the ice was a real gift because it was the place where I could actually just be myself. It was the
Mm,
only place that I could just be myself. I could go out and it was just me and my body, my skates, the ice, music, and I could just focus on fine tuning my craft
yeah,
and
you were free to be you.
right.
Yeah.
It was really beautiful, and all the Olympic athletes would come here. I skated with Dorothy Hamill and John Curry, and like the greats of the sport came.
And you even moved on to judging, didn't you?
I have judged
Yeah.
with the World Figure Sport. Yep,
Yeah.
and
So-
I taught professionally for a very long time. I created one of the very first adult figure skating camps in the
Mm.
in Aspen, Colorado. And I did some really, really cool things teaching.
Yeah. And that's a part of who you are. That's a beautiful gift that you brought it into your sharing your gifts with people with your form and working with nature and enjoying the process. And then did that bring you into the next stage?
So the next stage was, I always knew that, teaching skating wasn't really the ultimate thing
Mhm.
for me. Really, my ultimate quest was I wanted to know how the universe worked. Like that was
Ah,
really truly the only thing I was actually really interested in. I mean, I love teaching
interesting.
skating. I was really interested in helping people, you know, solidify their foundational abilities in the sport and become so they could become the best they could become. Like I was really invested in that, and I was really interested in that. And but then figure skating kind of, it took a big
Mhm.
old left hand turn into some serious darkness that I did not want to follow. And I did not want to go. I didn't want to comply with the changes that they were implementing. So
So you chose the lighter path.
I chose to leave that path. I chose to follow my own path. But by then, like, I didn't really know what my own path was because it had always been figure skating.
Right. And that happens to so many of us, right? It's like, why am I here? So what question did you ask yourself?
Yeah, well, at that time, I mean, I was in my mid 30s, mid to late 30s, and like the question I was asking was like, what job am I supposed to have? Like,
Mm,
you know, I looked out into the world and I saw all of these jobs for
right.
making money. And I remembered back to when I was 2 years old and, you know, 2, 3, 4 years old, I would look at the people around me and go, like, they're going to some job, nine to
Mm,
five, Monday through Friday, 50
yeah.
more weeks
50
out of
weeks. Yeah.
the year. I was like, there's something seriously amiss here. Like,
Hmm.
we're supposed to be on this planet playing in nature. Like, nature provides everything we need to survive and thrive.
Hmm.
But this whole artificially constructed society has been made up so that, people now, you know, they're taken out of nature at a very early age and put into a school, put into a box, and told to sit in the chair and learn these things that we tell you to learn.
Hmm.
So our consciousness is not allowed to develop organically. Our consciousness is shaped for us for a purpose,
Hmm.
harness our energy and become good workers.
Hmm.
And it was like, wow. So this whole being a good worker, and earning a paycheck, I never could get on board with it. I didn't understand why we were being made to do this. And as I looked out in the world and tried job after job after job, trying to find something that
Mm,
was fulfilling, I was failing miserably at finding fulfillment in some 9 to 5 job. And I did many of them, and I was good at many of them. And
mhm.
I always made the best of it, but it was it was not fulfilling my soul.
Right.
So
Right.
because it wasn't fulfilling my soul, it was literally sucking my life force energy out of me.
Hmm.
The more my life force energy got sucked out of me, drained away, the more depressed I got, the more
Mm,
sedentary I became, the
mm,
more confused I became. Like, what is it that I'm supposed to do? Why am I here? So until finally my health had my mental health, my emotional health, and then my physical health deteriorated to such a point that I was basically suicidal and I was facing cancer.
mm,
And I looked at stepping back and looking at my situation, it was completely obvious to me
mm.
that this whole pattern was the problem.
Right.
That my body was responding to my emotional state, that there was really nothing wrong with my body. In the beginning, I was like, oh my God, I'm being attacked by this killer disease. This is not good. Danger,
Yeah.
Bill Robinson, SOS help. What do I do?
It's true. You go into the state of fear, right? I mean, your whole
Absolutely.
body gets tense. Yeah.
Right? You just the word cancer.
Hmm.
Like,
Right. Yeah.
right? There's so
Yes.
much fear infused in that.
Right.
So when I looked at, all right, here's my situation,
Mm.
here's where I am, here's what I knew when I was 2 years old. And it's like somehow I have to become masterful. I knew that I was not living in a healthy state of being. I
Mhm.
knew at this point that we create our own reality. And that if we are creator beings, we have the ability to create any reality we want.
Right.
But I realized that my reality had been basically created by default.
Correct.
And I thought, I have to create consciously.
Yes.
So I looked at my current situation and it's like, all right, this is where the rubber hits the road. Either I heal or I leave. Like,
Mm.
I got two
Mhm.
options, right?
Right.
Like, 'cause I'm certainly not going to just stay stuck here in this situation.
Mhm.
So I looked at, well, how do people heal from
Mm.
cancer? And it's like, well, 99% just simply go to the doctor and then they get on that little conveyor belt and they do exactly what the doctor says and they do the chemo and the radiation and the maybe radical surgeries, the pharmaceuticals. Well, and I noticed that a lot of those people looked quite miserable going through the treatment,
Mhm.
and they had lost their hair. And kind of at that point, my hair was kind of only, well, like one of the only things about myself that I even sort of liked, just
Aw.
because, it had a bunch of body to it and,
Yes,
there's
it's
a lot of stuff I
beautiful.
could do with it. And it's like,
Mhm.
it's like, okay, my hair is kind of okay, but I'm
Yeah, so I wanna keep the hair.
like such the ugly duckling. And like I don't fit in, nobody thinks I'm pretty, nobody likes me, this whole all these stories that
Yeah, the stories that we all have and we all tell ourselves.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh my god, I can't go down this route, I can't lose my hair and then
Mm.
have everybody around me looking at me like, oh poor you."
Mm.
Like these are the
Mm.
stories that I was telling myself.
Right.
These are, and it was like I just realized that going down that route would kill me. Like I would literally just give up because
Right.
there was just so much heaviness in that, so much shame in that
Mhm.
for me as
Mhm.
far as going from the healthy fit athlete and then
Right.
like allowing my body to get into this really deteriorated state. I mean, I felt ashamed of
Mhm.
myself for that. So
So
I
you hit rock bottom,
yeah,
and then you had that choice, and you
exactly.
chose the light.
Right? So I realized like I couldn't go the medical route. I couldn't do that to myself.
Right.
And so I thought, well, if I'm not going that route, then I'm going to have to learn how to heal myself.
Mhm.
So I started on this little path of, Googling, like, self-healing, who are the self-healers? Who can teach me how to heal myself? And you know what I
Mm.
found?
What?
Nothing.
Really?
I
Oh, I
found
thought that's
nothing.
how you found the German medicine.
Well, that was actually way later.
Way later.
Yeah. Like
Oh,
I didn't
so how
find.
did you so what took you on the next step? Was it
So
going within?
yeah, so I realized, well, if there's nobody teaching self-healing out there, like if there's
Mm.
no guidance for me in this area, I'm going to have to figure it out myself.
Wow.
So I realized that at 2 years old, I was fully connected to source.
Mhm.
I had gotten disconnected from
Right.
source. I was feeling small. I was feeling alone. I was feeling in the dark. I was
Mhm.
confused. And, that's the fall of consciousness,
Exactly.
right?
Yes.
So my consciousness had hit rock bottom. And I knew that from rock bottom, I needed to raise my consciousness back
Mhm.
up into the light, into
Mhm.
remembering who I truly am, because that would be where the healing comes from, bringing all of these fallen parts of myself back into wholeness. So my tactic then became, I'm going to sit in the stillness. I'm going to get my mind to quiet. That was task number one. Get
Yes.
the mind quiet, because I would sit in the stillness. I would ask the question. So I went into the question, what do I need to know about this in order for me to change it? So every day I sat in the question. I would close my eyes, I would ask
Mm.
the question, and then it would be like, well, if you do this, maybe you need to go, and like all the thoughts would just keep looping around and around. I'm like, no, shut up, quiet. I really tried to quiet my mind.
Interesting that you knew that that's what you needed to do.
Yes. And I also realized that like trying to quiet the mind is really, really hard.
Exactly. But you had the right idea.
Yes,
You knew where you wanted to be. So then now you had to figure out how to get there.
exactly. So finally, I realized that it's about the energy. That if I grounded my energy and I reconnected to the earth and to
Mm.
nature, that I would start to clear my energy field. I started to learn this is when you and I met, when we started to learn about alchemy, and we started
Right.
to learn about the light body, the structure of the human energy field, and that there's an actual sacred geometry to our energy field. But when we are connected to source, that geometry is perfect. But when we fall in consciousness, that geometry starts to distort. And then our perceptions distort along with the distorted geometry. And with that distorted geometry, our lines of communication from source get severed. They get twisted, and and we don't have that clear guidance anymore.
And then that's when you wrote the book, The Simplicity of Self Healing,
Well,
after you had learned all that.
once I got
Yeah.
my mind to quiet, I was sitting in meditation one of the days, asking the question, what do I need to know about this? And suddenly, with my mind quiet, the whole awareness dropped in, and I could suddenly see through the eyes of my soul. And what my soul saw was, hey, Lisa, your body's not being attacked by some killer disease. Your body is doing exactly what it's designed to do. Your body has been responding to your emotional state. Your body's not the problem. So as soon as I saw that, it was completely obvious to me that cancer is an illusion. It's not
Mm.
what's happening to our bodies.
Well, I see it could be if we believe it is.
Well,
It's kind of, yeah, it's kind of those beliefs, whatever we think, whatever we feel, we create.
absolutely, yes. So what I've discovered is that, what you just said, what we believe then becomes our experience. So in retrospect, as the the symptoms that my body had produced were meaningful.
Mm.
Our bodies are biological. Our bodies are
Mm.
intelligent. Our bodies are logical. They have divine intelligence. So my body was logically responding to my internal conflicts.
Mm.
So the internal conflicts, the body was adapting itself to help me overcome those conflicts. My body was trying to show me where I had disconnected from
Right.
the truth of who I am. And so those symptoms, all of the symptoms that I had, you name a symptom, I pretty much had the symptom, right? All of those things, because I had so many conflicts going on inside me, all of those symptoms were meaningful.
They're
So,
letting you know where you're going off the path, right?
right? And they were literally in healing at the time. Usually
Mm.
what I found out was when the symptoms show up, 90% or more of the time, it's when the body has gone into healing. I had been doing
Mm.
so much internal work, I
Mm.
was resolving all of those internal conflicts. And then my body was healing itself as I was resolving those conflicts. But the
Right.
healing is the hard part. So the symptoms are the symptoms, whatever they are, they're meaningful. And so the meaning we put on the symptom then determines our experience. So when we put a meaning of, oh my God, uh-oh, this isn't good on those symptoms, well, then we go down that path of, oh my God, I got to fight this. I got to battle my way out. There's something wrong with me. And we follow that path, and that becomes our experience.
Right.
But we can look at the symptoms and we can go, oh, I'm healing. It's a totally different path.
Right.
So the symptoms are exactly the same, whether
Mm-hmm.
we look at them as disease or whether we look at them as healing. That then becomes our reality.
Right. And the symptoms can show us where we're out of alignment. It's
Absolutely.
actually a gift when we have pains in different parts of the body or whatever we're going through. It's there to show us where we're out of alignment. So again, it's that body's intelligence, isn't it?
Exactly, because different parts of the body respond to different conflicts. So
Mm-hmm.
the part of the body that is being affected shows us which conflict we need to address.
Right.
The body is always trying to help us. So it's a beautiful divine design.
It is a beautiful divine design. And thank God you found it, because now you're helping all of these people find their path, because they really want to know, kind of like you did, but they're not quite sure what steps to take to get out of that darkness. Isn't that right?
Yeah. You know, I mean, most people come to me because they have a physical issue
Right.
and they're like trying to heal their body.
Right.
So, we address this, but we really, where what I'm really doing is I am helping to reshape their consciousness. I am helping to clear the distortions in their consciousness, because the consciousness the is reflected in our personal energy field, and it's reflected in our bodies, and it's reflected in the physical reality around us. So when we have these distorted perceptions of, I'm not okay, there's something wrong with me, I don't like this, oh my God, I have to do this thing, that we don't want to do, all of these are distorted perceptions. But when we're in our pure divine consciousness, it's the answers are right there. The answers are completely clear and obvious. And we start to see that I don't have to do these things that they tell me to do just because somebody's telling me I have to do it or I'm going to get in trouble. Wait a second.
Mm,
That's like bullying. I don't need to be bullied. I don't need to be governed. One of the things that I've really started to explore is the law for mankind. That,
mm,
we are sovereign souls. We are created in divine perfection. And
exactly.
we are actually under no obligation to participate in the false matrix society that has been set up.
Right. And even when you know that, it's very challenging, because everybody is telling you, do this. And
Yep.
if you don't do this, you're going to get in trouble. You're going to spread that, whatever.
Yep.
And yeah, so it's really moving into our sovereignty, isn't it?
Exactly. Yes. And it's really the farther we can expand our consciousness, the broader the perspective is. When we're in it, when we're told, here's your tax forms, it's time to fill out your taxes, do this thing, like, okay, and we just do it, and we don't see that there's perhaps other options,
Mhm.
and we don't see who is making us do this. It's the government. Well, there is no such thing as government. They're just
Mm.
men and women. So who are these men and women who are making us do these things, and why?
Mhm.
And we
Mhm.
start to expand out and we start to realize that, wait a second, as a soul, I don't need to be governed. I am perfectly capable of governing myself. I do a really good job at it, as a matter of fact. Like, I carry myself with dignity and honor and respect, and I don't inflict harm on anybody else intentionally. If I do, if I dent somebody's car or something, it's like I take responsibility for it. And
Mm.
like, hey, I'm sorry, I apologize. How can I make reparation here?
Mm-hmm.
But you know, we are taught that we are need to be governed, but a free man or woman is not governed.
I think, yeah, I think that's an important point. And I also think when we move into our power, which is what you're talking about, yeah, right? But it's from that place of love and integrity and purity. Of
Exactly.
course, we're going to do the right thing. And we're taking our power back from a place of love. There's no domination, there's no control over.
Right?
Right. Yeah.
Power is love. Love is the ultimate power of
Yes.
the universe. We have
Right.
been taught that force is power
Mm-hmm.
and that
Mm-hmm.
money is power. And those are part of the false matrix programming.
Yeah, it's all really energy, right? So wherever we put our attention, that's what we're creating. So how beautiful is that?
Ah,
Yeah.
it was really lovely. And going back to what I discovered, in that moment of clarity, like, oh my
Mhm.
gosh, my body is not being attacked by anything. There's nothing to fight, there's nothing to battle, there's nothing to fear, literally nothing to fear. When I had been in fear of this enemy that was all around me and that I couldn't seem to get away from, all of a
Mhm.
sudden that enemy was gone. There is like all the fear left. And I in that moment I realized, oh my gosh, I can trust my body again.
Mhm.
As I grew up figure skating, I just trusted my body. My body just did anything I asked of it.
Mhm.
But slowly, as my consciousness was falling into the abyss, is like I started to think that my body wasn't pretty, it wasn't strong, it wasn't beautiful, it wasn't the body that I should have. There was something wrong with the way it looked. There was something wrong with my body. And all of those things created this distrust of my own body.
Mm.
So in that moment, it was like, oh, I need to trust my body back to health. I need to allow my body to guide me back to health.
Mm. Beautiful. Yeah. Wow. So all of your wisdom and all of your experiences are helping you to be of service.
Mm, yeah.
And I think as you're in service, being of service offers us everything that we need. It provides abundance and health and wealth and well being. So when we're into that's why it's so important to live our life purpose, which is what you're doing, right?
Yeah. We as souls, we are created to be unique. We're created in divine perfection, like snowflakes. Like every
Mm.
snowflake is unique. No two snowflakes are the same, is what we've heard. And trillions upon trillions and gazillions of snowflakes. Like souls, the same thing. We each have our own unique sacred geometry. We each have our own unique gifts and talents. And
Right.
when we come here into physical form, we're here bringing gifts and talents. And I didn't realize it at the time when I was 2 and I looked around and was like, "Oh my gosh, everybody has amnesia. Nobody knows about this unconditional love. All of this love is, well, I will love you as long as you do what I want you to do." Like,
Right.
that's not love. Like, that's
Yeah.
not it. I
Yeah.
did
Love is unconditional, right? Yes.
not. You know, I at the time, it was very clear to me that this was a prison
Mm.
planet, that it was a soul prison. And I thought that I had been sent to prison. And I thought, I don't know what I did wrong. Like, why did I get sent to this prison?
And now look,
And now I was like, oh my gosh, here I am to help set the prisoners free. And I had to
ex-
set myself free first,
absolutely. It
right?
all begins with ourselves because we can't teach what we don't know.
Exactly. Yeah. So I didn't know that that unconditional love and that expanded awareness was part of my soul's gift
Right.
this planet. I didn't know that I was bringing unconditional love back to the planet.
Mm-hmm.
I just saw it didn't exist here and like, oh no, now what am I going to do?
Right. But then you took all the steps and you went through all the processes and then you learned this and you wrote a book, a beautiful book. And then you also have done quite a few things with, share a little bit about the movie that you're
Oh,
part
thank you. Yeah, so I wrote the book, The Simplicity of Self-Healing, and that was just quite cathartic. And I didn't even realize that I was really kind of writing a book at the time. I was just like writing a journal, but it's like, oh no, this is really a book. And I was so scared to put it out online, and it's like, oh my gosh. But then people started writing and telling me that it was helping them, and so I started getting more confidence, and one step led to another, and finally in recent years I met Keith Leon and had the opportunity to be in one of his books, the Navigating the Clickety Clack, How to Live a Peace-Filled Life in a Seemingly Toxic World. I was asked to contribute a chapter to that book, and Keith and we just kind of hit it off, like just kind of soul family. And then he and his wife came to visit in Lake Placid, and like they loved it here and we loved having them here, and it just has grown as a community. So one of the things that he wanted to do with his life, he wanted many things he wanted to do with his life. He wanted to be a rock star, a singer and rock star. He accomplished singing with some of the greatest voices on stage. And then he wanted to be a writer, and he wrote the um, Walking with My Angels, the true
Mm.
story of him having a real life angel come to him in physical form and mentor him. And then that book did so well that he and his wife ended up creating a publishing company and publishing more books. And then he also decided that he wanted to be a filmmaker. So the first film that he created a couple of years ago. It was called The Inside Effects, How the Body Heals Itself. And he wrote that book. I was kind of the inspiration. Well, me and Karen Can, who also, Dr. Karen, who lives here in Lake Placid as well. After a couple of conversations with both of us, 25 years of chronic pain,
Mm.
it was a shift of his consciousness, having the conversation with me that showed him how to shift his consciousness. And
No coincidences, right?
right, so he thought, I want to create a movie about this. So he created a beautiful documentary film. It's already won 7 different awards. So I was
And
really
you're in
honored
that as well, right?
to be in that movie. So I
Yeah.
was kind of featured in that movie. So great honor. And so now there are more things in the works here. So Keith and Mara are moving here, and we have a lot of ideas of things that we want to create. We really want to help to restore the divine blueprint. We want to help heal humanity. We want to help heal these communities. We want to help restore peace and love and beauty and joy to this planet, and help
Mm.
people reconnect not only to their own true nature, but to nature itself. So we will be creating lots of things in the future, opportunities to work with us as a group, to work with us individually, to come work with us in nature, in person here. So there are a lot of things in the works, but first and foremost, we got to get moved and settled. So,
One step at a time, right?
exactly.
Yeah, and moving, yeah, it can be cathartic. I mean, you let go of things and you allow new to come into your life. So it's all kind of in alignment, isn't it? Where you are. And
Absolutely.
then, yeah, closing your soul story part, and then you're moving into a whole new venue, a whole new platform. Is that right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to create a podcast that has even greater reach, greater impact, and so I've got some ideas about that, and I'm lining up some really awesome new guests, and hope you'll come back and
Oh, absolutely.
have
Thank you. It'd be an
some
honor always.
right? Oh my gosh, it's so much
Yeah,
fun. And Kathy and Keith and I did many podcasts together as
we
well.
did.
You know,
Yes,
Keith
it
is
was
talking about
fun.
my angels book, and Kathy working with the angels
Yes.
regular basis. Kathy does the most amazing,
Aw.
so intuitive. She's so connected to the angelic realms. She has given me so many incredible readings and helped me gain so much insight. So if any of you are looking for some angelic
Well,
guidance,
thank
help
you.
tap in. She's also a Reiki master and energy worker, and she does so many beautiful things, or many beautiful things that Kathy can do to help you. I highly,
Well,
highly recommend reaching
well.
out if you're looking for a little bit of guidance.
You're taking your time for me. That,
You're
that,
taking your time for
and
me.
and is that not so, Lisa? That's Lisa right there. And that's why you're so good at connecting people and your podcast and working with everyone. Um, you're so in this Aquarian age that we're creating, you realize the importance of working together. That's what I would have to say. That was one of your most beautiful gifts, that you have the knowledge and you know how to share it, to see people shift in their consciousness, and it's like an exciting moment for you to see them have that aha moment, and it's like, oh my gosh, they're getting it, and they're stepping into their power, and they're stepping into their sovereignty, and you see how that ripples out, right? And so it connects and it expands, and so you just keep getting bigger and stronger and more powerful from that place of love, from that place of purity, of simplicity. I think if I were to think of Lisa, it's that simplicity of knowing that we have everything that we need within. And Yeshua, Jesus, that's what he said. If we can heal ourselves, and we do have that ability when we believe we have that ability. And when we're shown how to do it, that's what you have, is that gift. It's like, yeah, maybe I believe it, but how do I know it really works? And and you share exactly how to do that in simple, clear steps that shifts into the lightness, into their knowingness, into their truth. So then you're creating these beacons, and then it kind of keeps expanding. So it starts with us, right? This self-healing, which is what you've created, and then it ripples out and ripples out and ripples out, because you're sharing and teaching and creating these beautiful platforms for people to remember who they are.
I mean, there's nothing more important than that we clear these amnesia fields. We have to clear the field so that that veil of amnesia gets cleared, so that we can all move from the fallen state of consciousness back into the truth of our divinity. So one of my most one of the most fulfilling, joyful things that I do with all of my classes, all of my clients, every single session, I do a guided journey to start
Mm.
moving the consciousness back up here, so that we remember that we are these grand beings of light, so that we can close our eyes and we can go inside, and we can start to see the unseen realms when we close our eyes and we go
Mm.
inside, and we can start to expand what we look at. We start to expand into the divine. We start to expand into the unseen realms of light and love and energy. And we start to remember who we are. And there's nothing more important than that.
Absolutely. And so do you also on your platform, do you have recordings?
Yes, I actually have a monthly membership that has just started. It's a monthly meditation membership. It's a guided journey
Oh,
each month.
beautiful.
It's a subscription, a recurring subscription. So simply by signing up, you'll get 6 bonus guided journeys. But every month you get 4 fresh guided journeys to work with. You can work
Oh,
with them one a week, or you can work with all of them as called. But as you sign up in the beginning, you get 10 guided journeys.
wow, really?
They're
That's great.
all downloadable. And then at the
Okay.
beginning of each month, the 4 fresh ones come in. So it's really fun to be able to share those with more.
Yeah, I found through experience that those are the most helpful for, right? It's kind of like I re-listen and I re-listen and through the repetition of listening and actually feeling it within our being, that is one of the most helpful things I find is hearing it, the audio.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
and bringing our attention to that space on a
Mhm.
regular basis, on a daily basis, starting to move our attention point from the physical world in back into the non-physical, because we are non-physical beings. As souls, we are non-physical. We are made purely of consciousness and light and love. So when we move our attention point from the physical realm back up into that non-physical realm, it starts to just organically open our awareness. It's just
Mm,
so simple.
right.
There's nothing to have to do. There's just be present with your own presence.
Yes. Again, the simple. It's simple and powerful.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Incredibly powerful.
Hmm.
Remember who you
And for other people, what is your website?
Oh, my website is connecting you to you, connecting the physical you to the non physical you. So you can remember who you fully are.
Perfect. Yeah. And so if they were interested, they could look there and find out all your different classes and courses and the monthly. Okay, beautiful.
They sure can. Yep.
Oh,
And
well, that's good.
yes, and as you're watching this episode or listening to this podcast, just check out the show notes. I will have my link tree in there so you can find my website, my book, all of those things in one space. You can find what you're looking for.
Oh, good. That's perfect. Well, we are so happy to have Lisa Warner and your experience and your wisdom and your gifts to share with people to see how you created this beautiful path for yourself so that, and I love the book in the background, the knowledge, the wisdom, the light that's coming in through you to the planet, to Earth, to share all of your beautiful gifts with everyone. You are a gift. You are a treasure. We are so blessed to have you and to know you and to love you.
Kathy, thank you so much for hosting today. It was beautiful. I am so honored that you chose to do this.
Absolutely. Yes.
Kathy, Bradley, and the Angels. It's Kathy with a K, ATHY, Bradley, and the Angels. So,
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Lisa. And thank you so much for sharing. And we can't wait for the next step. And we wish you all the blessings for a smooth, easy move in nature and simplicity, joy, and peace.
thank you.
Blessings.
Thank you to everyone in the audience who has been following the soul stories. We really appreciate that. And we've got, even though this is the final episode of Soul Stories, we have lots more coming for you in the future. So stay tuned.
Yay. We can't wait. We look forward to continuing.
Nice. Well,
Thank you, Lisa. We love you.
thank you, Kathy. We love you too. So and we love all of the audience. Thank
Yes.
you all so much. Until next time, create for yourselves a great story because you already have one. Bye for
Yay.
now.
Thank you.
Thank you.